Hey Arctic Warriors, what's up? Arctic Phoenix here. We are doing our NFL playoff predictions. And all right, Chargers, Texans. Yeah, the Chargers have been a really good, well-rounded team this year. I mean, Herbert hasn't really turned the ball over that much. Their defense is a lot better, averaging 17.7 points per game. I mean, they got a really good running back tandem with former Ravens legend J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Yeah, Dobbins was a bit injury prone, but he has been stepping up this year. Happy to see that. And they have a very good young receiver tandem in Ladd McConkey and Quinn Jackson. I mean, plus Josh Paul and Will Disley are pretty good as well. I mean, they do have a good defense led by Joey Bosa, which helps. As for the Texans, yeah, I mean, C.J. Stroud has kind of struggled a little bit this year. He's still putting up like 20 touchdowns and 12 picks. They will be without their second lead receiver tanked out due to a horrific knee injury. I mean, they still have Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz would have to be their number 2 receiver. Plus Stephon Diggs would have to step up as well. But they have a really good running back in Joe Mixon, who has gotten over 1,000 yards this season. But he has been the bulk of their running game. So, yeah, I'm going with the Chargers with this one. Steelers, Ravens. Yeah, the Steelers have been kind of in a bit of a slump at the end of the year. I mean, Russell Wilson hasn't really been doing much. I mean, they have a solid receiver in Najee Harris, and Jalen Warren's a solid guy. I mean, their lead receiver is George Pickens, who kind of sucked the last game against Cincy. But the Ravens, they got an MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson, as well as King Henry leading the charge. Grant Lamar's their second runner, which kind of concerns me a little bit long term. Zay Flowers is a hell of a receiver, but unfortunately he might miss the Steeler game. But they got Bateman, they got their touchdown receiving leader Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely's really good, Justice Hill, and they also have Nelson Aguilar. So take that as you wish. Nevertheless, I mean, and plus they do have a solid secondary and with Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey back there, so that helps. But but between those two, the winner of the Amazon Prime battle is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, they are going to beat the Steelers, and hopefully they get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, you tree, we ain't going to like that too much, but who cares? Bills, Broncos. Yeah, the Broncos got in barely. I mean, Broncos got him barely this year. I mean, since he was too little, too late. I mean, Bowl LIX is a solid quarterback. He's got 29 touchdowns and 12 picks. And they do have a solid rushing game with Javonte Adams and Joel McLaughlin. And they do have that usually strong defense like they usually have. And plus, Will Lutz is a really good kicker. I mean, he's making 31 of 34 kicks this year. And also, they are facing the Bills, though. And yeah, the Bills got Josh Allen. I don't really have to say much here. I mean, James Cook is good. They got Josh Allen their second run, which is kind of concerning. And they do have a really deep receiving core, of course, with Khalil Shakur, second-round pick Keon Coleman. Excuse me. They get Kincaid's a good. Matt Collins, he's gotten 5 touchdowns. But I think they're going to easily overpower the Broncos. Vikings, Rams. This is going to be an interesting matchup because the Vikings are 13-4 this year, but the Rams have been really good the second half of the season. Plus, they beat the Vikings this year, one of 2 teams to do so. But nevertheless, the Vikings got guys to work with here. Sam Darnold has looked pretty good this year. Aaron Jones still a stud in the running game and also in the air. And plus the receiving core. Justin Jefferson, but Addison has added 875 yards, 9 touchdowns. Hawkinson is still producing. Naylor is producing. They have a really good defense as well. They have Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator. Picard is a good kicker. Well, as long as he's a good kicker as well, so it helps having him. But the Rams, Matthew Stafford is still Matthew Stafford. They don't really have much of a running game with outside of Kyron Williams. Corum's decent, but he's only a rookie. And they have a well-rounded receiving game with Puka Nakua's getting near 1,000 yards despite missing a few games. Cooper Kupp adding 6 touchdowns. DeMarcus Robinson stepping up when they asked in the Nakua Cup. Tutu Atwell, who surprisingly hasn't been that active, but he's still their third leading receiver in terms of yards. But I think the Vikings are a much more well-rounded team. I'm picking Minnesota. Commanders, Buccaneers. Oh, jeez. I think the Commanders, the Commies have Jane Daniels, who's the best offensive rookie this year. No question. But he's also their leading receiver, which, again, concerning long-term. But they have Brian Robinson, who is really good, and Austin Eckler. In terms of receivers, they got the eternally underrated Terry McLaughlin, who has got 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. Zach Ertz, who's still performing well. Zabulas, who's also got over 500 yards. But as for the Bucs, they got Baker Mayfield, who's got 41 touchdowns, but he's also 16 picks. Then again, he's a gunslinger like Brett Favre, but he's completed over 70% of his passes. And for the rushing game, they got the appropriately named Bucky Irvin, who's got over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, middies. And they got Rashad White, who's added over 600 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield himself, who's been running, got 378 yards and 3 touchdowns. As for their receiving, they do have a solid core. They got Mr. 1,000 yards himself, Mike Evans, who's added 11 touchdowns. Cade Otton, who's got 600 on the nose and 4 touchdowns. And unfortunately, they're going to be without Godwin, but Jalen McMillan's been added 8 touchdowns to the mix. But I don't think that's enough to overpower the Commanders, so who I think is going to win this matchup. Packers-Eagles. As a Packers fan, I'm not too confident about this matchup. Yes, they have a good offense, good defense in terms of getting top 10 in both scoring offense and scoring defense. But Jordan Love has been hit and miss this year. Malik Willis has looked solid outside of the Bears game. But Jordan Love hasn't lived up to his $55 million billing. He's got 25 touchdowns in the Olympics. He has looked better in the second half, though. Josh Jacobs is an absolute stud. He's got over 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns. Plus, he's got 342 yards and receiving yards and a touchdown through the air. Emmanuel Wilson has looked solid through the air as well. Jalen Reed he's a freaking stud. And then you got Mother Tucker Kraft, who's got over 7 yards and 7 touchdowns. Unfortunately, Seawash is injured again. Romeo Dobbs has looked solid with over 600 touchdowns and 4 rushes and 4 touchdowns. But unfortunately, because of their loss to the Bears, they're going to have the honor of going to Philly. And yeah, it don't matter who they have as their quarterback. Jalen Hurts, Kenny Pickett, or Tanner McKee look solid. They like Tanner McKee just torched the Cowboys, and I don't know. I think he's going to torch the Packers as well. But of course, they have to also deal with Saquon Barkley, who had a near record-breaking season, running for 200 yards, 13 touchdowns, and that's not even including their receiving core with A.J. Brown, who's again 1,000-yard receiver, 7 touchdowns, and the Slim Reaper Devontae Smith, who added 800 rushes and 8 tutties. And also Dallas Goedert's a freaking stud as well. Plus, they also have some guy on defense named Cooper DeJean, who is basically who is already turning into doing an elite cornerback. So yeah, and also as for the Pack, but at the same time, our so-called elite quarterback Jair Alexander is on IR again. So yeah. As a Packers fan, we're freaking screwed against the Eagles. They're beating us. Chiefs, Chargers. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup here. I mean, Justin Herbert's only got 3 picks and 23 touchdowns. And I think that's kind of going to come in handy against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, of course, back-to-back Super Bowls, and of course, Patrick Mahomes, who hasn't been his best, but they're still finding ways to win games. But unfortunately for the Chiefs, the aura has kind of waned a little bit. They're just barely squeaking by this year. Not sure it's the fatigue or whatever. And whatever. So, and yeah, they also have brought out Kareem Hunt for this go around, who's got over 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. Travis Kelce is still not in his prime anymore, but he's still getting 800 touchdowns and 3 tutties. Helps that he has Taylor Swift watching his games. And also Xavier Worthy, their rookie's got 600 yards and 6 tutties. Hopefully he doesn't go full on Henry Ruggs. D-Hop 387 yards and 4 touchdowns. Noah Grace, same amount of 7 yards, 5 tutties. P. Ryan, who has looked solid. I mean, Pacheco has also looked good in the running game. But I think this year, the magic's running out for the Chiefs. Chargers pulling off the upset. Ravens, Bills. Clash of the MVP QBs this year. Lamar Jackson, 41 touchdowns, 4 picks. Josh Allen, 28 touchdowns, 6 picks. Lamar has looked better on paper this year, but Josh Allen is just, Josh Allen. And it really does help that the Bills had one of the 2 teams who have beaten the Chiefs this year. It's the Broncos, but that's thanks to them putting in their backups. Nevertheless, I think the Bills have been more consistent this year. The Ravens have looked a bit shaky at times. When they're at their best, they can beat almost anyone. Nevertheless, I'm picking Buffalo. Unfortunately. Commanders, Lions. Jane Daniels, yeah, they do have a good core. They do have a good core. Jane Daniels, Brian Robinson, Zach Ertz. But the Lions, they're the Lions. Jared Goff has been MVP caliber. Sonic and Knuckles have been torching offenses on the ground. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, both 1,000-yard receivers, as well as Laporta. And, of course, Sonic Gibbs himself has had 500 yards on the ground. And their defense. Holy crap, their defense. I mean, it don't matter who's out there. Like Aiden Hutchinson and Terrion Arnold, their defense is getting held up by duct tape, and they're still competing. Plus, this is one of those teams who always goes for on 4th down and succeeds. So, yeah, aggression, determination, stuff that Dan Campbell preaches. So, I think the Lions will be biting up more kneecaps, and I think they're winning. Eagles, Vikings. This is going to be a good matchup here. I mean, both have solid offenses, weapons on offense, and both have defenses that can stop them. I mean, yeah, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, then yeah, they're going to give the Eagles defense problems. As well as like Aaron Jones on the ground as well. But the Eagles, yeah, they got Barkley, they got Amor, they got A.J. Brown, they got Smith, they got Goddard, and they got like elite defense on their own. But from what I heard, Ryan Flores is basically Dr. Eggman when it comes to defense. So, yeah, I think he'll be able to decipher the Eagles' offense, and I think the Vikings are going to upset the Eagles. Chargers, Bills. Didn't think you I predict this matchup, did ya? Chargers. Yeah, I think the Bills are going to win this one. I think, yes, the Jim Harbaugh's a great head coach. Yes, Harbaugh's a great quarterback. Yes, they got a solid quarterback and a solid defense. But then again, Bills are going to be hungry this year. I mean, never count out Josh Allen, never count out McDermott, never count out the Bills. They're on a mission this year. I think they're winning. Lions, Vikings. Rematch of Week 18, but this time the stakes are even higher. Two teams with awesome offenses and resilient defenses. But I think in this matchup, the Vikings may be more at full strength, but the Lions, we all know how resilient they are. Nevertheless, the Lions are just it's going to be kind of a repeat of Week 18. The Lions are going to be too aggressive, too talented, and too hungry. They're going to be having some Viking stew tonight because the Lions are going to the Super Bowl. Bills, Lions, Super Bowl 49. This is going to be an interesting matchup here. The Bills, they have they have a solid offense here. They're going to be able to take advantage of the Lions' beating up defense, especially with Josh Allen, James Cook, Khair Shakir, Keon Coleman, all those guys. But I think the Lions are just going to be... And I think with the Lions' banged-up defense, it's going to come back to bite them here. Remember, these two teams combined for 90 points in their regular season matchup. The Bills are showing that they're one of those teams that can take advantage of the Lions' banged-up defense. I mean, even with Aiden Hutchinson and Terrion Arnold back, I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, their offense is going to be able to keep them in it, but their defense is too banged up, too rattled by injuries to be able to stop the Bills' offense. Bills Mafia is going to be thumping through tables tonight in celebration in New Orleans. It's going to be like their Mardi Gras. And in Mardi Gras, Bills, first ever Super Bowl championship. Final score, 35-31. Buffalo Bills, your Super Bowl 59 champions. Thank you. Have a nice day. Peace.